Today we're going to be doing a 2-round Superflex rookie mock draft that was sent in by a subscriber. I was not a part of this mock draft. Like always, though, we're going to go pick by pick, talk about the players, talk about the values, and try to guess the picks coming up. You need to hit the subscribe button right now, though, because we're doing mock drafts multiple times a week. We're covering mock drafts. We're going to be doing rookie rankings here soon. We're going to be doing player profiles, going deep on these players. And I'm going to be doing different types of player profiles on these players as well. Different types of formats. A lot of rookie talk to help you for your Dynasty rookie drafts this offseason. Also, I'm going to help you build your Dynasty Fantasy Football team. So click that button. Stop missing out. But we're going to be looking at a 2-round Superflex rookie mock draft, and this was sent in by a subscriber, and we're going to razz some picks. We're going to bust some balls. We're going to be going over these players and going over the values as well. Let's get this started. It's Superflex. Who do you think the first pick is going to be? And I'm going to let you guess that right now. And if you got it right, hit that like button. It's Caleb Williams at the 101. When is he not the 101 in a Superflex draft? I've seen Marvin Harrison Jr. there a few times. And I'm going to say, off the top of the head, about 5 to 10%. Caleb Williams, no matter who drafts him, no matter what the Bears do, he's going to be the 101. People have been anticipating him coming out for the draft for quite some time here. Multiple years almost. He has been locked in as the 101 in Superflex, and he should be. With that value, you're going to catch a windfall on the trade market if you want to move out of this pick. If you want to do something else, it's going to create a lot of flexibility. The longer you wait until draft day with this 101, and if you're planning to move, the more you're going to get, the more that's going to come your way. But kick the tires nonetheless, see what happens. Caleb Williams, though, is the 101 here. The 102 in this draft. I think you're going to guess it. The same player every single time. But we're doing 2 rounds instead of 1 round. So we're going to get some different players today. But you're going to guess who this is. I know who it's going to be. It's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. I can bet money on that because that's what we're seeing per ADP. We don't even have ADP on here yet. I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it soon. That's why you need to hit that subscribe button because I'm going to be the first person out here with ADP before all the other Dynasty sites like last year. But at the 102, we got Marvin Harrison Jr. They went with him at the 102. Again, I'm seeing him go 101 on mock drafts about 5% or so of the time. Caleb Williams locked in at 101. Marvin Harrison Jr. at 102. He is the Bijan Robinson generational-esque prospect of this class. If you don't go with him as one of the top picks, people are going to look at you sideways, and that makes a lot of sense. He's got an early breakout age. He was a high-end recruit coming out of high school. We looked at his recruiting profile coming out of high school, and he stood out among the rest, and we could tell he was being underrated among the recruiting sites due to his route running. And then you see him working in the offseason. You can tell he's a hard worker. You can tell he has progressed even though he's been balling out. He has progressed. He's got natural talent, good at the catch point, breaks off routes, a nasty release package. There's really nothing you can say negative about his game. You could nitpick, but as a content creator with a bunch of people looking at me, if I just find things to nitpick, they're going to take it the other way and then just start going the other direction here when you shouldn't. Marvin Harrison Jr., you're not even taking a gamble here. He's a guy that you're just drafting and you're rolling with it. But now we're looking at the 103 here. More than likely, they're going quarterback. We got 2 quarterbacks we're looking at here. Drake Maye and Jayden Daniels. Possibly Malik Nabers. I'm trying to say that correctly. Those 3 players are in the running right now. Drake Maye usually goes next. That's what we're seeing a lot. Jayden Daniels is going to push for that spot soon. We're going to see that in rookie drafts. He's going to push for that spot. He's going to push for Marvin Harrison Jr. spot here soon. Mark me on that, guessing the market. I like to guess the market, and by guessing that, I'm guessing big draft, big dynasty is going to pump up Jayden Daniels here next few weeks, month and a half or so. You're going to hear a lot of chatter on that. Drake Maye versus Jayden Daniels, and then people are going to be looking at that, and you're going to see some mock drafts. I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying like a certain percentage, but you're going to see them pumped up there a bit. I've been saying that, and you are seeing talk on social media about that right now, but that's going to start trickling into these Dynasty rookie mock drafts. I bet you on it. We'll have one or two sent to me having that. But let's take a look at this next pick. 103, who do you think it's going to be? Drake Maye. And we're staying standard here. Drake Maye at the 103. We're seeing him go at the 103 a lot. We've been waiting for him to come out for quite some time there. 2022, he was lighting it up. His first start, showing that arm, showing that accuracy. We had a bit of regression this year, a little bit of some low times this year, you may say, but still, he's going to be drafted high. He's going to be getting that draft capital. You're going to be drafting him pretty high in Superflex. 1 QB, he's going to be down there a ways because it's 1 QB, and it's really dependent on what the waiver wire looks like in your league, the roster spots, how teams value quarterbacks, and everything else. Drake Maye, though, he's going to be a quarterback you're going to be looking at in Superflex due to the quarterback value, and that's just how the game's played. That's how quarterbacks are valued. If you don't like him, you can just look at him as the 103, 104 spot, maybe even 102, and a guy to pivot from. If you don't like him, using that Superflex value juice if you want to do that. But Drake Maye, 103, and we're seeing that in a lot of rookie drafts. Here at the 104, I call this right now the LSU spot because Jayden Daniels did not go at 103. Malik Nabers still on the board. This is the LSU spot. Which LSU player you're going to take, or is something funky going to happen? Last draft, we had some weird stuff happen. It did. They drafted some weird people. These guys, they're staying standard right now. What's going to happen here? I don't know. Who do you think's coming off the board? If you get it right, hit that like button. But let's see. 103. Who is next? Jayden Daniels. And like I said, he's going to be pushing for the 103, 102 spot here soon. I wouldn't take him over Marvin Harrison Jr., but some may due to the Superflex juice in the market. And it really depends on your league, how you play the game, and how you want to play the game. I like Marvin Harrison Jr. I like Malik Nabers a lot. And I don't talk about him as much as I was about a month or so ago because everybody's talking about Malik Nabers. You can't scroll social media without seeing Malik Nabers. Jayden Daniels, though, transferred to LSU, and in 2022, he was showing the goods. He was showing some things game to game, showing that arm, showing that accuracy downfield, and he had a good season. And then comes 2023, he just put the stamp on things. He balled out 3,800 yards, 40 touchdowns, one of the top quarterbacks in the nation. I feel like even though he's getting good value, he's going to be getting very good draft capital. I'm seeing him mocked a lot to the Patriots. I'm not even worried about where he goes. I think he's a very good quarterback prospect for what you're getting here. And he's a guy that is going to be worth the value at 104, 105, 103, wherever he's at. Wherever he's at in your draft, we're going to see come draft day. But you're getting some good juice here at the super flex spot. Here at the 104. 105, I think we got this one nailed. Unless Brock Bowers sneaks in. Unless he does that. Or if they pull Daniel Jeremiah and take Odunze ahead of Malik Nabers, like we just did in the video the other day, going over that mock draft. And also Mel Kiper doing the same thing from what I'm hearing in the comment section. That could happen. And if people are following Big Draft, that might be happening. But I think we got this pegged. Let me know who you think 105 is in the comments, or hit that like button if you get it right. Malik Nabers coming off the board like we thought so. Stud wide receiver prospect. At 105, this is a hell of a discount. This is a hell of a discount. He would be the wide receiver one in last year's class by a wide margin, and in most classes. And in this year's class, he's up there with Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, they're in the same tier. They're both damn good wide receiver prospects. Watch the tape of Malik Nabers, because this guy's got burst. His release package is nasty. He creates separation. You don't have a gauge on what he is on contested catches a lot of times because he's creating a lot of separation, but he is solid at the catch point. He is solid in contested catch situations, but this guy's nasty. He might even be better than Marvin Harrison Jr. down the line. And if you argue that, you're really just splitting hairs because those are both two damn good wide receivers. But Malik Nabers here, 105 here. Very good price. Very good discount considering what you would have to pay if he was in any other draft class here. But now we're in the 106 range. Somebody else is coming off the board. If I had to put money on it, it's Brock Bowers. I know I put this together, but it's been some days, and then I went on a vacation, and then I came back. This has been here for a bit. I've been sitting on it, and I like to do this with these mock drafts because it's funner that way for me, and I can really just react to the picks. Once I get middle into the first round, bets are off. I don't remember it. And usually the first few picks are the same. But Brock Bowers is more than likely to pick here. I could see Odunze. It's between those two players off the board here, unless they get funky with another wide receiver or they roll up with another quarterback. And I bet you they do something weird with the quarterbacks. If I remember right, they do something weird with the quarterbacks in this draft, but I'm not for sure. You're just going to have to stay tuned. But going over here to the 105, who do you think it's going to be? Who do you think's coming off the board here at 106? Not 105, but at 106. I'm guessing Brock Bowers. If I'm right, you got to hit that like button. Odunze, so you don't have to. Odunze. My wide receiver 3, easy. Very easy. He is the nation's wide receiver 3 right now because of the production, because of how quick he can get downfield. Very good at the catch point. Good ADOT on his career. 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns. Put the stamp on things this season. And a very solid wide receiver. Why he's not up there with Malik Nabers and Marvin Harrison Jr. is because they're on a different level. Those two wide receivers are just special. If you put Odunze in last year's wide receiver class per se, Jordan Addison and JSN, those first-round wide receivers are usually like neck and neck. Then you had Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston. He'd be up there or pushing above Jordan Addison range. He'd be right there. There'd be a lot of arguments with that. Reason why, Jordan Addison got Kenny Pickett drafted in the first round. I think you can't argue that. He's the reason why. Jordan Addison, early breakout age, broke out with 2 different collegiate programs. Just a safer prospect. Odunze safe in his own right. Just Odunze's got a lot of upside too. He could be a wide receiver 1 for his team. Be a wide receiver 1 in fantasy. Could get plenty of air yards and targets. A guy you don't want to sleep on. Also going a little bit later in the first round. Could be getting drafted into a better situation. Odunze is a player everybody's looking to draft. He's not a secret anymore. Odunze is that guy. Odunze is that guy. And at the 107, it's got to be Brock Bowers. It's got to be Brock Bowers. So we got a little bit of flip per ADP. That's just listed in my brain right now from doing all these mock drafts. But I'm pretty sure Brock Bowers is next. I'm pretty sure. I can almost bet on that. Well, I kind of bet it on the last pick, and I was wrong. But those were the 2 that were the heavy hitters left. I think it's Brock Bowers. Who do you think? Let me know. Let me know. But at 107, it's Brock Bowers. Because that's what ADP says. And I don't have ADP, but I have ADP because we do these drafts every week. I'm going to have ADP soon. I'm going to have that on the channel. I did that last year. The first place on all the internet to have Dynasty ADP was right here. It was right here. That's why you need to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. But Brock Bowers, tight end spot, a valuable position in fantasy, especially in tight end premium. If this was tight end premium, probably about 106. He'd be pushing more with Odunze. Him and Odunze is just going to battle here for the draft capital in Dynasty, and it's okay. However, with Brock Bowers, you're getting a tight end. You got to realize tight ends sometimes take some years to develop. It sometimes takes them a little bit of time. Sometimes not, like a Sam Laporta. We've also been waiting for him to come out for the draft since his freshman season because he broke out during his freshman year. He's explosive, can get you yards after the catch here. He can take over games. He's just a different type of tight end. Generational-esque prospect. Brock Bowers is a guy that we're looking at. And now we're going to the 108. I really have no clue here. Usually you could bank on a running back coming off the board soon. Trevion Henderson going back to Ohio State. They're loading up. They're loading up on the recruiting trails right now. Judkins is there. They're just getting player after player. Julian Sayin just signed. Ohio State's just taking their players back. Emeka Egbuka's going back. That being said, could be one of the wide receivers, or this could be where they get weird with quarterback. I do know this draft does get a little bit weird, but I did not go over it before this video because I wanted a live reaction with you guys. Who do you think it's going to be, though? Who do you think it's going to be? Maybe a Troy Franklin. I'm a Troy Franklin guy. I'd be looking at him somewhere around this range. That being said, Bo Nix, and this is where they go weird at the quarterback position. But the super flex juice is weird. Bo Nix, more than likely, or will be, or should be, first-round pick. Last mock draft I saw, he was going to the Saints. So just think about that range in that area. If he goes to a team that has some weapons, maybe we get a quick transition. After all, we saw him transition to a different collegiate program. Very good here at Oregon. 3,500 yards, pretty much 3,600 yards in 2022. 4,500 yards in 2023. Pushes the ball downfield. And you saw the numbers change to that and reflect differently once he got to Oregon. So, that being said, he's a quarterback with a lot of experience. He's going to go later in the draft. Could mean he go to a better situation. He might sit for a little bit. But Bo Nix at 108. We're not seeing this in many Superflex rookie mock drafts right now, where that fourth quarterback comes up the board. However, this draft class has been billed as a strong quarterback class. So with him going at 108, I'm not surprised that much. It's a little bit different going off the other drafts that we've seen, but I'm not super surprised. This draft is also stacked at wide receiver. And that being said, would you rather go with another wide receiver here or go with the other ancillary first-round quarterbacks, early second-round quarterbacks, maybe third-rounders, depending on if they fall in the draft? And you may argue against that, but go look at the last few drafts here. Some quarterbacks have fallen that have been drafted in the first round of rookie mock drafts here in January. That being said, I'm not really going to speculate either way. Would you rather go wide receiver or Bo Nix or one of the other quarterbacks here? But we got to move on, and we got to move on to the 109. I don't know now. I think wide receiver because it's plentiful, but they could go another quarterback. Maybe, because now you got a run going. Or the RB1 of the draft. Their RB1 that came off the board in their imaginary NFL draft. Who knows? If it were me, I'd be going wide receiver here. Maybe Troy Franklin. 109, who do you think it is? Michael Penix. A lot of people have soured on Michael Penix. And I cautioned him a little bit due to the injury history. And I really just want to see the medicals at the combine and how the NFL reflects that once we get to draft day. But Michael Penix can sling the rock, has shown some upside. And against Michigan, it wasn't great. But we also have a full career to look at. Really, when it comes to Superflex and a quarterback like this, who's a little bit ambiguous, let the draft tell you what to do. If they spend a first-round pick, and that team's got some weapons, and you feel good about it, 109 range, pretty solid. If he pulls a Will Levis and he's just sitting there on draft day, you may want to push back a little bit because the NFL's telling you something. They are. They're a lot smarter than what a lot of people think. And a lot of people think the NFL's pretty dumb with players. But they make the right assessment more than what people give them credit for. Let the NFL tell you what to do with Michael Penix. I can tell you, he does have some upside. He can spread the ball around. He has experience. He's accurate downfield. He did have a lot of weapons there at Washington. He sure did. We got Polk. We got Odunze. We have McMillan. You got to equate that into the situation, but still, Michael Penix there at 109. This draft, I don't even know what to do with it now. We're at the 110. I keep saying these players, and they just ain't popping up. They could be going running back here. They could be, or they could be going wide receiver. The wide receivers are falling down the board. If I had the 201, 202 in this pick, in this draft, I'd be excited. But I don't know anymore. Let me know who you think. Drop it in there, but we're going to the 110. Brian Thomas Jr. I like him. He has grown on me a lot. I like the ADOT throughout his career. I like how he can get downfield. He's very nuanced on his release package, and he can create separation. He's also very fast-footed. He's got good balance, creates separation as well downfield. I like that a lot. And he's going to go later in the first round. That's where he's projected to go. Could be a better situation. And he projects as a guy who's rangy downfield, which to me, when I think about fantasy production, fantasy football workload even, I think of air yards. I think of opportunities downfield. I think of splash plays. And splash plays lead to upside from game to game. And if he doesn't tap into his upside and he's on the field, at least we could get moments of splash plays. That's what I'm seeing here. A deep ball guy at the worst, really. At the worst. But I think the upside is more grandiose than what people say because you do see some nuance on the field. You just do. And when you see that, you start seeing the ball skills as well that goes along with that. You see the upside. You're seeing him go at 110 right now. You got to get excited at that value. Brian Thomas, I can't wait to do the wide receiver rankings on here soon so I can just talk about him some more and see what I can do with Brian Thomas here because Brian Thomas has a lot of upside. And honestly, I think the market is a little soft on him right now, but we're going to move on to the 111. We're about done with this first round. We got wide receivers galore off the board, and usually running backs going in this range too. Usually the first or top drafted running back or the running back in the best situation who goes in the second or third round is going to go in this range. But we do have some wide receivers. Who do you bet here in this? Who do you bet? Troy Franklin. One of my guys here, and I love the value that we're seeing him in mock drafts at the 111 spot, 112 spot, 201. 108 at the high point. Maybe one draft we saw him go around 106, 107 range. I like the value here. Again, another good ADOT, 1,300 yards, 14 touchdowns this year. Could be in the back end of the first round. I see some people giving him second round grades as well. That being said, you're getting a wide receiver that has length, that can get downfield, that can create separation, can be a splash play machine. What I like about Troy Franklin is the value, too, that you're getting in rookie drafts. And I really want to see where he's going to go in the NFL draft. I think Big Draft is going to talk him up some more once we get deeper into draft season. And I think that's going to bump him up some more. I think Dynasty Fantasy Football market, I think the market there is going to be a little bit higher on Troy Franklin right now than them. But Troy Franklin has some goods. And I can't wait to see where he lands in the draft because that's really going to dictate his value. If he goes to a quarterback that can throw the moon ball, that's really going to impact his value because he can get downfield, he's got that length on him, and he's going to be ADOT city. We got a lot of ADOT guys in this class. This is what a lot of people aren't talking about, but we got a lot of ADOT guys. And you know I talk up ADOT guys in season from week to week as those splash play guys. But we got to make a splash at the 112 here. We got another player coming off the board. We got a couple wide receivers that are kind of up there that still need to go. Running back still needs to go. Can they get frisky with quarterback still? Can they do that? We got to see. We got to see. But we're going here to 112. Jonathon Brooks. Jonathon Brooks, welcome to the mock drafts. Welcome to the mock draft. 1,100 yards, 10 touchdowns. Used a little bit in the passing game with 25 catches. We got some bursts. We can use him between the tackles a little bit. A guy that if he gets decent draft capital, you're drafting. And with these running backs, considering it's a weaker running back class, you're really just waiting to see what the NFL says about these running backs and who takes who gets in the best situation, and you're just following the draft capital. And if Jonathon Brooks gets it, then you're rolling with it. If he falls a little bit, then you're not. And that's all I really got to say about this. 3.91 yards after contact per attempt this season. Very solid. Solid throughout his career. It was above 4 last year. Just did not get the workload because, of course, Bijan Robinson was there. So, of course, you're not going to get a ton of workload. But once he got his opportunity, he put the stamp on things. 6.1 yards per carry, 6.6 the year before, 6.8 the year prior, even though very limited sample. But we're seeing a trend line because those numbers held up. Only decreased a tiny bit, still kept it over 6. That being said, with Jonathon Brooks, you're watching the draft capital, you're seeing where he goes. If you're drafting early, then you're taking shots on him, probably more in the second round, more than likely. Probably somewhere in the middle to early part of the second round, later in the second round. Really depends on how the running backs flow in your draft. because running back's weird this year, and wide receiver and quarterback is going heavy this year. And that's just how it is. That is just how the cookie's going to crumble here in 2024. The running back position is going to be a little bit weird. I look for the market to overcorrect to some of these guys who get drafted second round, maybe third roundish, and really value them more than what you think they're going to value them. But let's go back and rehash this first round. So overall, the start of it, per ADP, Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake, Maye, Jayden Daniels, Malik Nabers, Odunze, Brock, Bowers, and then we got Funky Like a Monkey, 108, 109, quarterback city. Bo Nix came off the board, started the quarterback run, and then we got right with the wide receivers, Ryan Thomas, Troy Franklin, and then we got our ancillary running back coming off the board, and it could be any RB1 that's considered the RB1 in the market at that time. And if that RB1 is considered by the market, he's going to go ahead of the 112. He just is. I'll say in Superflex, 109 range. That RB1 that the market says, about 109 range. And the reason why I know this is because I cover all these mock drafts every single week, and I've been looking at the market for about a decade or so now. Longer than that, maybe about 11, 12 months, just analyzing the psychology of the drafters, analyzing of what you guys do in your leagues, and just getting a broader view of things. And then when I come to you guys talk about it, you can really take those nuggets, look at what your league's doing, really study your league, study how your league mates draft, make trades, build their teams, and did you use that information that I'm giving you in these videos to really conjure up a plan going into draft season, going into your trading season, whatever you're doing. Every week or day should be a trading season, but still, it's different in some leagues, and I understand, but it's time to go to the second round. Their names on the board. Who got slept on? Because guys got slept on. But we're going into the second round, and let's take a look at that. So the first player off the board in the second round here is going to be Keon Coleman. And usually he goes in the first round. I don't know if I've had a mock draft where he fell to the 201. Maybe one, and that might have been earlier in the mock draft season. But I think Keon Coleman has slipped a little bit. I think when you look at size-adjusted athleticism or size-adjusted movement skills, he's going to give you something that NFL teams want. And we're getting a lot of smaller wide receivers come through the draft these last few years. They're going to pony up for that. We kind of saw that with a few players last year. Jonathon Mingo, Cedric Tillman. Teams paid up a little bit for those guys. Keon Coleman's got that size. Really want to see where he goes in the draft. You're seeing some mock drafts where he goes in the first round. A lot of mock drafts where he falls out of the first round. That's let me know that some people are in love with him and some people think he's skeptical. That being said here, the production here, 798 yards at Michigan State, 658 yards. Counting stat-wise, not great, but 2022 was his breakout year. He did have like a 27% market share of Michigan State's passing production. He outproduced Jayden Reed in that season. However, 58 catches, 50 catches, not a huge level of experience there, getting a ton of workload as well. If you want to look at it from that standpoint, you're either in on Keon Coleman or you're not. Usually if you're not, it's due to metrics. And usually if you're in, it's because you saw him play this year because he was balling out, especially earlier this season. Just highlight after highlight, a contested catch machine. But we got to stop talking about him. We got to start thinking about the 202. The 202. I'm just doing one-round drafts. First, second-round draft, 202. Who do you think's coming off the board? I can tell you, I have no idea now. And I know there's going to be a running back run somewhere down the line here because Jonathan Brooks went off the board. Usually does not go off the board in the first round. That being said, we're going to have a run on some players here. And the 202 is going to be interesting. J.J. McCarthy. Again, super flex juice. Coming out for the draft. Just got engaged. Look for him to get a bump in value. Look for him to get a bump from the media here in these next few weeks, leading into the combine, leading into draft season. Just look for him to get that draft season buzz. I'm not even going to say bump. I'll say buzz. People are going to talk him up, and he's going to start percolating in this range or a little bit higher in mock drafts. I expect him to go somewhere like this, especially once we had that quarterback run. We had a lot of quarterbacks come off the board in the first round. He was in the national title game. A lot of people have him on their minds. 170.3 quarterback rating. Now's the time for him to come out for the draft because everything's hot. His stock is up there. I understand. At the 202, they went with J.J. McCarthy. And again, you're chasing that super flex juice, whether you agree with it or not. And you can pivot from that and just let him fall if you want, because we do have some talent left on the board. The wide receiver spot's still pretty deep here. You're going to catch wide receivers in the third round that you like. But honestly, the NFL is going to tell you with the draft capital too. But still, a couple late rounders might blossom. We saw it last year. Going back here, who would you take at 203? Maybe I should structure the question there. Who would you take? Braelon Allen comes off the board. Braelon Allen could be a first-round pick if he's declared that RB1 by the NFL once we get the landing spots and draft capital. He's been hella productive throughout his career. Broke out as a freshman. He's a young player. He started his career at college at 17 years old. I'm sure you're going to hear that a million times throughout draft season about how young he is. Did you know he's young? Did you happen to know that? Because that's the first thing you're going to hear from somebody who likes Braelon Allen. I'm not going to sit here and talk anybody up because I really don't have emotions about players anymore. I've been doing this for a long time. But 3.77 yards after contact per attempt, 49 missed tackles this year. Lower in the production. Remember, Wisconsin started to pass it a little bit more this year. Remember that. They started to throw it a little bit more. You see that in the receiving production here. 28 catches, 132 yards. Saw more routes, ran more targets. Also had some injuries he was dealing with. Played with some injuries. Braelon Allen's production dipped a little bit. He was also playing through an injury as well. Give him some grace. Watch him through draft season. Look at his 2022 tape, 2021, and also his 2023. But we got to move on here because this is a long draft. This video is getting long. 204. 204. I feel like the running back run's coming. I think it's coming. I think it's right now. Maybe Trey Benson. Maybe Trey Benson or one of the other running backs. 204 off the board. Blake Corum. Blake Corum coming off the board. Very, very good instincts as a runner. Good vision. Powerful. Workout warrior. Has good size. Very productive. If it weren't for the knee injury, he would have came out in 2022. Also, that running back class was juiced up, and a lot of running backs fell. Good idea coming out for this season, even though it started off not so hot. 1,200 yards this year. 15 games, though. Again, though, 15 100-yard games on his career. 2.42 yards after contact per attempt. One of the top running backs in this class. Some people have him ranked as like the RB2 in this class. He's up there. With everything said and done and everything considered, Blake Corum could land in the best situation. He's a very good running back prospect. He is very stout. He's very efficient. He's very smart. He's going to run the plays how they're called. He's going to get you more than what's blocked. He's going to be good for whatever team that drafts him. Blake Corum could be that player that's being slept on right now that could end up in the first round. That could happen because he's a lunch pail running back that just gets it done. Blake Corum here at 204. This could be a tremendous value, and I still think the running back run is going right now. Blake Corum just came off the board. Braelon Allen just came off the board. Trey Benson now. It has to be Trey Benson time. Let me know if I'm wrong. Let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm clicking the button now, and it's Trey Benson. Because, one, I knew there was a running back run coming in the second round. Trey Benson is the RB1 for a lot of people. He's very explosive. He's got a lot of pop in his step. He's thick. Also, you're looking at the sizes listed here. Those are listed sizes. I don't consider any of these real till we get to the combine. And if you think I think the numbers are real there, then you're just crazy. But he was productive. He was explosive. He is a thick boy. 3.53 yards after contact per attempt. And that's all I really need to know now. And I also know that 205 is great value for Trey Benson. But let's move on to the next pick here at 206. At the 206 spot, we got another player coming off the board. We got to go back to the wide receiver well, right? There's no way they're going back to quarterback. They can't be doing that. We got to go back to the wide receiver well. We got to start drilling that hole, start getting some wide receivers coming off the board. Let's take a look here. We got Trey Benson at 205, 206. Who's it going to be? Devontez Walker coming off the board here. 2.8 yards after the catch per reception here. balled out at Kent State, 921 yards, receiving 58 catches. Then we went to North Carolina, and we transitioned quickly. We started being productive. We broke out quickly. 699 yards, 41 catches, 7 touchdowns. Can get downfield, has a good ADOT, good reach, good length here at 206. There's a lot of people that like him. There's a lot of people that like his game. I'm seeing a lot of people digging into tape. Finally, we had all year to do that, but they're finally digging into the tape, and they're starting to say, hey, I like me some Des Walker here. I like what I'm seeing here. And at 206, it's a good value at wide receiver. You're going to see some good values at wide receiver here in this range. You need to stock up on second-round picks if it's possible, because the wide receiver position's deep. You're going to catch some players here around this range of the draft that you're going to be like, hey, that's a good value, especially in super flex. But we're moving on. We're moving on to the 207 pick, and I think we got to run at wide receiver. I think. I don't know for sure, but I think. Let's take a look here at 207. Xavier Worthy coming off the board. This is a massive value. This is just screaming in our face right now. He should have been drafted, pushed in the first round at the worst, or into first round. He broke out as a freshman. One of the few wide receivers in this year's draft class, age 18 breakout age. Also, we got speed to burn. His stock is going to climb over these next few weeks, and it's going to explode in the combine. He's got speed. He can get downfield. He can get you yak. He can get you air yards. He can get you what you need. He can be a stretch player. He can be a yak player. He is a dynamic player for your offense, and I can't wait to see how the market shifts after the combine. But looking at the market share stats, looking good. Xavier Worthy got slept on this draft. They slept on Xavier Worthy. This is a horrible move by all 12 members of this draft. They all jacked this up. They screwed up this draft. They need to crumble up the paper, just throw it in the trash. Just throw this draft in the trash because they screwed this draft up. One, we went too hot and heavy at quarterback. We got weird at running back, and now we're letting wide receivers fall. And I get it. I am going to be wrong on some of these wide receivers, but we have a strength in this class. And I get it. You leaned into the quarterback spot, and I get the super flex juice. But wide receiver, come on. Look at the stats. Put these numbers together. You know you got a wide receiver here, age 18 breakout age. Age 18, age 19, that's what you want. You got that there with Xavier Worthy. How are they going to mess up here at the 208 spot? How are they going to mess up this pick? Let's take a look here, and let's pull the trigger. Who do you think it's going to be? Ja'Tavion Sanders, 208. So if you need a tight end, he is always going in the second round of mock drafts. He is always going in the second round. He's got some upside. We got some good size and just athleticism here. He moves well for his size. Production-wise, 54 catches, 45 catches. That's all right. At this price tag, if you want to go tight end, you can. However, the opportunity cost of some of the players on the board, you may not want to do that right now in this draft here. In a lot of other drafts, this is probably fine. This is probably a fine spot. I'd rather use my second round pick and just buy a veteran tight end and just get the production instead of waiting on Ja'Tavion Sanders for a year or so. That's probably what I would be doing in this spot. However, the 208 isn't going to get you that much off the market. It's just, in theory, it could. That being said, it's fine if you want the tight end 2 in this class right now if you want to pay that up. But let's look at the 209. Who do you think that's going to be? At the 209, we got to go wide receiver. We probably got another running back or two left in the draft to go look at here. 209 here, coming off the board, McConkey. And these guys were scared to let him slip because there's a lot of people talking him up. They're talking up the route running. They're talking up how good he could be in the right situation. A slot receiver who could play a little bit on the outside due to how nuanced he is. He can create separation. 3.26 yards per out run. 6.3 yards after the catch per reception. He's not going to be a yak guy. That's just not his game. It's to create separation, get peppered underneath here. And really, right situation, he could be a hitter. And you're just watching him on draft day. Could get higher draft capital than expected. But there's more upside on the board. And McConkey's only going to tap into that upside in the right situation. And if he develops into that situation, that quarterback peppers him. McConkey does have some upside. However, when you're looking at this wide receiver class, it's very good. And those wide receivers got upside as well. McConkey, you can't be too scared to overdraft him. Like, you can't overdraft him because you're scared. How about that? You can't do that. Because I get it. You see Cooper Kupp. You see a guy here that can create separation, all that. You can't do that. You can't do that. You really have to play things straightforward here. There are other wide receivers here that are not going to get drafted in this draft that are very good. And you have to think things through here. And also the running back position, just plug and play at running backs. They're expensive on the trade market when they start firing. Maybe you want to use your capital for that once you get down this way in the draft anyways. The odds of these wide receivers starting to hit once you get to 209, 210, 211, 212 is starting to dissipate. But we do have some wide receivers left on the board. I do not know if another one's coming off on this next pick, but we're going to the 210 pick regardless. Taking a look at that pick, Adonai Mitchell. Interesting prospect. I think he's going to need some time to season and develop. However, he's projected to get draft capital. What I like about him is air yards. I like that he can get targeted deep downfield. I like that he's very strong at the catch point. I think Adonai Mitchell, as he seasons with his team, with the right quarterback that wants to push it downfield, could be a very good in fantasy, especially if he goes to a team like the Bills, if Gabe Davis leaves in free agency, and Adonai Mitchell is supposed to be the clear-out guy. That could lead to fantasy production, especially him getting downfield, him at the catch point. Definitely could see that at 210. This is a great value for a player like this, and you're going to see wide receivers go out of value in these mock drafts. You're going to see it happen. That's just part of the game, and you may argue against it because you know what? When I watch people talk wide receivers and I watch people rank wide receivers, Adonai Mitchell, when he does slide in those rankings, people bring that up quickly. Someone's going to bring that up in the comments. I guarantee it. And that's why I like going over these mock drafts, because I love hearing about the market. I know what people are doing before they do it. I honestly do, because I pay attention to that so much. 211. What's next? Running back, wide receiver, probably not quarterback, probably not tight end. Running back, wide receiver, who do you think it's going to be? Xavier Legette, if I'm saying that right. 6.4 yards after the catch per reception, 3.15 yards per route ran. Size adjusted athleticism for days. He moves different. And he could be a guy that could step up here. He could be a guy that when drafted and goes to the correct team that allows him to play to his game, could be a very sneaky option. He's going to be a guy that is going to rise boards during the combine, during draft season, when people start talking him up. Not the most nuanced wide receiver, but he wasn't asked to be nuanced because they were just trying to get him in space, get him the ball, and let him work downfield. He ran a different route tree due to the system. That being said, if he gets the right opportunity, allowed some time to season. He's also pushing 23 years old right now, older wide receiver prospect. At 211, though, tremendous value for the upside here. Tremendous value. There is some things in this game you want to look at. Honestly, the NFL is going to tell you. They're going to tell you. The situation's going to tell you. His upside's here, and his downside could be down here because we do need him to season a little bit more. He's also an older wide receiver prospect. But if things link up correctly, perfectly, his upside, due to his size-adjusted athleticism, his movement skills, could lead to him being very productive at the next level. Big Draft is either going to love him or hate him, and that's something we're going to have to pay attention to, especially the scouting reports, how they grade and look at the finer nuances and how they value the size-adjusted athleticism. But he's a player that I'm scared to miss out on too. Because when you watch him on tape, you watch him be dominant in some of those moments, you're going to be scared to miss out on him. You're going to want a couple shares. But we're moving on to the last pick of the draft. The last pick of the draft here. We're finally through this thing. 212. Who do you think's coming off the board? I'm guessing a running back, but it could be wide receiver. Wide receiver's so deep. I think running backs need to be boosted up a little bit depending on draft capital here. I think some of these wide receivers need boosted up a little bit. I think quarterbacks got drafted too high, funneled things down a little bit. But at 212, Buckey Irvin. You can't go against a guy named Buckey, first off. You just can't do that. You can't do that at all. But he was very productive at Oregon this year. 1,100 yards, 1,000 yards a year prior, 11 touchdowns in 2023. He has tremendous vision, has good pop in the step. He could be a surprise play this year. He could be a surprise get in the draft. Got to see where he goes. Definitely, especially with these running backs. Running backs are more plug and play in the NFL. That's just how it is. But you can definitely see the goods. You can definitely see him being used in the passing game, which is a huge plus. You can definitely see him be used as a satellite back and definitely be a good money ball piece to your dynasty team, if nothing else. But looking at this draft here, going back to the first round, first half of it, pretty basic from the 101 to the 107. And then the 108 and 109 impacted the second round here. Michael Penix and Bo Nix coming off the board. Brian Thomas Jr. at 110. I think I slipped up and called him Michael Thomas earlier, but Brian Thomas Jr. coming off the board. I like him a lot. I think he should have been up there around 108, 109, and I think his stock's going to climb. Troy Franklin's one of my guys. And Jonathan Brooks at 112, surprise pick. But really, when I look at the running back drafted in these drafts, I look at it as like the global RB1, and whoever that market says it is probably going to be that guy in the first round and is probably going to have higher draft capital than the 112. But going to round 2 here, and this draft got pretty crazy. We had Keon Coleman at 201, good value considering the other mock drafts we looked at, and then we had a run at the running back position. Braelon Allen, Blake Corum, Trey Benson. Running back came off the board there, and those were the top guys. I'm surprised none of them got drafted in the first round. Xavier Worthy was a tremendous value at 207. McConkey later in the second round. That makes sense, but I feel like there's more upside after him with Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Legette, and maybe some of the other running backs too. I get it. People are scared to miss out due to the route running, due to what you see on tape. But again, we got a lot of upside at the wide receiver position. It's going to make things weird, diluted when it comes to the values until we see where these guys land. But that's another rookie mock draft. Who fell into round 3? Who should be in round 2? Who should have got drafted in round 1? Who do you like? Who do you don't like? Who are you trying to draft? I want to hear about that in the comments below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.